Have you ever, been right in the middle of a conversation trying to say something specific, something really important, and then puff, the English word you need just vanishes. It's right there, you feel it, but you just can't grab it.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is incredibly common.
Or maybe you've spent ages learning new words, feeling really good about it, and then a few days later, gone. Like they just evaporated.
Right. The forgetting curve is steep.
It's frustrating, isn't it? A real challenge for anyone learning English. And you're definitely not alone if you feel that way.
Not at all.
Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving deep into. Okay, let's unpack this. How can you really build, and maybe more importantly, remember English vocabulary so it actually, sticks?
So it becomes usable.
Exactly. Usable. Not just words you kind of recognize on a list. It's about changing how you communicate, using words naturally, confidently, getting your real point across.
Moving beyond that feeling of being stuck.
Yes, exactly. We want you to feel empowered to express yourself fully.
And that's precisely our mission for this deep dive. We've looked at quite a lot of source material. Linguistic research, practical teaching guides.
The works.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And we've tried to distill the most effective, proven methods.
Yeah.
The ones that actually work for acquiring vocabulary.
So not just random tips.
No, we're aiming for a clear roadmap here, something actionable based on, the underlying principles of how language learning actually happens in the brain.
Right.
The goal is to give you strategies that work long-term, that help you internalize words so they feel, well, natural, organic even.
Okay, so let's start with something foundational, something that maybe we don't always think about when we're just trying to cram words. Vocabulary isn't just a part of language.
No, it's much more than that.
It really is the backbone of any language, as some sources put it. It sounds simple, but think about it. The more words you have,
The more tools you have.
exactly, the better you can express what you're thinking, what you're feeling, the precise shade of meaning.
It's the difference between just getting by and actually communicating effectively.
Yeah, and our sources give a great example of this. Like, imagine you're telling someone about your weekend. You could just say, my weekend was good.
Which is fine, functional.
Functional, yeah.
Right.
But does it tell them anything? Really? It's pretty bland.
Leaves a lot out.
Right. Now imagine you've got a richer vocabulary.
Hmm?
Maybe you've used some of the methods we'll talk about. Instead, you could say something like, my weekend was really relaxing.
Paints a picture already.
I spent some, actual quality time with my family. And the weather, it was really pleasant. See the difference?
Huge difference. You go
Uh-huh.
from just basic info to sharing an actual experience.
Exactly. It's moving from just like transmitting data to creating a connection,
Yeah.
making it interesting, nuanced.
Whether that's just chatting or, giving a presentation, it matters across the board.
Absolutely.
And, the impact goes way beyond just sounding, well, articulate.
Yeah.
It really touches every part of how you use the language.
How so?
Well, first, obviously, enhance communication. When you have the right words right there,
You don't hesitate as much.
exactly, you speak more confidently. You're not constantly searching or, maybe worse, simplifying your thoughts because you don't have the word.
Yeah, I've done that. It's frustrating.
We all have.
Yeah.
And that clarity, it translates directly into writing, too. Clearer emails, better reports, more persuasive arguments.
Because you can be precise.
Precisely. Avoiding ambiguity. Making sure your message lands exactly how you intend it.
Okay, so better speaking, better writing. What else?
Well, comprehension is the other big piece. Think about trying to watch a movie without subtitles.
Or reading a book in English.
Or listening to, well, a deep dive like this one. If your vocabulary is limited, you're constantly stopping, you're guessing, maybe reaching for a dictionary.
Yeah, it breaks the flow.
Totally. But with a more robust vocabulary, you just understand more. You grasp the nuances, follow complex ideas, and really engage with the content.
It becomes more enjoyable, less like work.
Much more enjoyable. It's more immersive. You get more out of it, whether it's learning or just entertainment.
That makes sense.
And what's truly fascinating here, and maybe a bit less obvious, is how a broader vocabulary actually starts to change how you think.
How I think. How does that work?
Well, it doesn't just help you express thoughts you already have.
Eh.
It can fundamentally reshape how you process ideas within English itself.
Mm-hmm.
This raises an important question about the deep link between language and thought. As your vocabulary grows, you develop the ability to actually think in English.
Instead of translating my head all the time.
Exactly that. Instead of that constant, sometimes laborious word-for-word translation from your native language, you start forming the thoughts directly in English.
Wow.
It's not just about being faster, though you certainly are. It's about adopting the English way of structuring thoughts, understanding its specific distinctions. It feels more natural.
Like the language becomes part of your operating system.
That's a great way to put it. It's a significant cognitive shift, a real leap towards fluency and deep immersion. You interact with the language more intuitively.
Okay, that's the goal, isn't it? Thinking in the language, not just speaking it.
It's a huge milestone.
And knowing that building vocabulary is the key to all of
Okay.
that, speaking confidently, understanding more, even thinking differently, that's pretty motivating, right?
It should be.
It changes vocabulary learning from feeling like a chore
Mm-hmm.
into something powerful, a tool for, I don't know, unlocking a new version of yourself in English, making the language truly yours. Okay, so before we get into the nuts and bolts, the how-to, we need to clear some ground. There are some common ideas about learning vocabulary that are actually quite unhelpful.
Yeah, some persistent myths that can really hold people back.
Right. So here's where it gets really interesting. We're going to bust a few of those myths, things you might be doing thinking they're helping, but they're actually slowing you down.
It's all about working smarter, not just grinding harder,
Mm.
avoiding those paths that don't really lead anywhere useful.
Okay, lay it on us. Myth number 1.
Myth 1, you absolutely must memorize long, long lists of words.
The classic dictionary crawl.
Exactly. The reality, rote memorization like that, just drilling word definition pairs.
Ah.
It doesn't really lead to using words naturally in conversation.
Why not? It feels like it should work.
Well, it mainly builds recognition. You might see the word on a list and know the definition, but can you pull it out of thin air when you're speaking? Can you use it correctly in a sentence?
Probably not always.
Usually not. It's like having a huge toolbox but not knowing which tool to use when or how to use it properly. When you learn words from lists, they're isolated.
Decontextualized.
Precisely. You miss all the vital context, how the word usually behaves, what are the words it likes to hang out with, its subtle shades of meaning, its feel.
Whether it's formal or casual.
Exactly. Without that context, the word just stays abstract. It's not a living tool you can actually wield.
Okay, so ditch the endless lists. What's myth number 2?
Myth 2. You need to learn all the difficult, impressive words first.
Yeah, trying to sound smart right away.
Right. But the reality is, you should start with words you'll actually use every single day. Practicality is key here.
Makes sense.
Think about most conversations. Casual chats, work meetings, emails. They mostly rely on a core set of common, everyday words.
Like the most frequent ones.
Exactly. Some sources say just 2,000 or 3,000 high-frequency words cover maybe 80% of typical conversations.
Wow, 80%? That's huge.
It is. So focusing on those high-utility words first builds a much stronger, much more immediately useful foundation. You need to hit a certain vocabulary threshold just to function day to day.
Right, you can't have a basic chat if you only know obscure words.
Precisely. Trying to learn fancy words first is discouraging because you rarely get to use them. It slows down your ability to just talk to people. Build the foundation first, then add the fancy decorations later.
Okay, focus on useful, everyday words first. Got it. Myth number 3.
Myth 3. You need to dedicate hours and hours to studying every day.
The marathon study session.
Yeah, the one that leads straight to burnout for most people. The reality, thankfully, is that even 15 or 20 minutes a day can be incredibly effective if you're consistent and deliberate about it.
Consistency over quantity again.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really shows the power of consistent, focused practice over just raw hours logged.
It's about building a habit, not running a sprint.
Exactly. And psychologically, it's much less daunting, right? It's easier to fit into a busy life.
For sure.
So you're less likely to burn out. You maintain motivation because you see steady progress, however small, and it actually helps retention. Your brain gets regular, manageable doses.
Like watering a plant regularly instead of flooding it once a week.
Perfect analogy. Smart learning really is better and much more sustainable than just hard brute force learning. Hashtag TechTech3. 5 powerful methods for practical vocabulary building.
Okay, so we've busted the myths. No endless lists, focus on useful words first, and consistency over long hours. So what does this all mean for how you can actually start building vocabulary effectively? Starting, like, right now.
Right. Let's get practical. We've got 5 powerful methods based on solid principles that you can put into action today.
Let's hear them. Method 1.
Method 1. Read and listen regularly. This is foundational. It's probably the easiest, most natural way to absorb new words just through regular, enjoyable exposure.
Just by encountering them?
Yeah. Your brain is amazing at picking up patterns. When it sees or hears a word repeatedly in different meaningful situations,
It starts to figure it out.
often, yes, even without you consciously looking it up. It's called comprehensible input. If you understand most of the surrounding language, you can often infer the meaning of the unknown word.
Like context clues.
Exactly. So the practical application. Read articles, read books, watch movies or shows with subtitles on.
Listen to podcasts.
Listen to podcasts, news, audiobooks, anything in English. But here's the crucial tip. Choose topics you actually like.
Ah, the enjoyment factor again.
It's vital for sticking with it. If you love cooking, watch English cooking shows. If you're into sports, read sports blogs in English.
Because then it doesn't feel like studying.
Precisely. You're more engaged, more motivated to understand, and you absorb the vocabulary almost as a side effect of enjoying the content. Learning becomes sustainable, even fun.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Find stuff you like and just consume it. But what about actively capturing those new words you notice?
Great question. That leads perfectly into method 2. Use a vocabulary notebook.
Okay, pen and paper time. Or digital.
Either works. The point is active engagement. When you find a new word, don't just mentally note it. Write it down.
Okay.
Then write down its meaning, maybe in simple English or your own words. And here's the really important part. Create your own example sentence using that word.
Ah, so not just copying the dictionary example?
No. Making it your own forces you to think about how the word actually works in a sentence. It connects it to your own experience or thoughts.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you learn the word pleasant. You might write, word, pleasant, meaning, enjoyable, nice. My sentence. The park was really pleasant this afternoon.
Okay, simple enough.
It seems simple, but that act of writing it down, defining it, and creating your own sentence really helps solidify it. It uses different parts of your brain.
Kinesthetic learning, right? The writing part.
Exactly. Plus, the cognitive effort of sentence creation. But there's one more crucial step here.
What's that?
Regular review. You have to look back at your notebook, maybe once a week. Just read through the words in your sentences.
To stop them fading away.
Precisely. It's about spaced repetition. Revisiting the words at intervals helps move them from short-term to long-term memory. Combats that forgetting curve we talked about.
So it's an ongoing process. Capture, define, create, review.
You got it. That active recall during review is key.
But what about words that seem simple but are tricky or have multiple meanings?
That's where method 3, learn words in context, comes in. This is absolutely fundamental.
We touched on this with the myths.
We did, but it's worth hammering home. Don't learn words as isolated units. Learn them within phrases, within sentences, within stories.
So not just abandon, leave forever.
Exactly. Compare that to seeing it used. He had to abandon his car by the road, or the old house looked abandoned. Suddenly, it has life, right?
Yeah, you see how it fits.
What's fascinating here is how context provides this whole network of meaning around the word. Mental hooks, you could say.
Like connecting it to other ideas.
Exactly. A semantic network. It's not just a single data point. It's connected to situations, other words, maybe even feelings. That makes it stick.
And helps you understand the nuances.
Absolutely. You see how it's used, the kinds of words it partners with collocations, and whether it feels right in different situations. This is crucial for using the word correctly and naturally yourself.
So you don't sound awkward using a word you technically know.
Right. Context gives you that deeper understanding for accurate usage.
Okay, so learn in context. Makes total sense. Now, you've learned it, you've maybe written it down. What next?
Now comes the critical step. Method 4. Practice active use. You absolutely must use the new words to make them truly yours.
The output stage.
Exactly. Input is essential, but output is where mastery happens. Listening and reading build passive knowledge. Speaking and writing build active fluency.
How can you practice active use effectively?
Several ways. Try to consciously slip a new word into a conversation, even if it feels a bit forced at first. Just try it.
Yeah, be brave.
Yeah. Or challenge yourself. Write a short paragraph, maybe a journal entry, using 3 to 5 new words you're working on.
Forces you to integrate them.
It does. Another great technique, especially if you're hesitant to speak with others yet, is to record yourself.
Record myself talking.
Yeah. Maybe just talk for a minute about your day, but make an effort to weave in some of your target words, like, today was manageable, and I felt inspired to tackle that project.
And then listen back.
Yes. Listening back helps you catch pronunciation issues or awkward phrasing, but the main benefit is the act of producing the language. It forces your brain to retrieve the word and use it actively.
It makes it real tangible.
It really does. It transforms passive recognition into active command.
Okay. Active use is key. What's the final method?
Method 5, use flashcards and apps. This is about systematic reinforcement.
The tech solution.
It can be very effective. Apps like Anki, Quizlet, Memrise, they're popular for a reason.
How do they work best?
Well, typically they show you the word, the meaning, maybe an example sentence, but their real power often lies in spaced repetition systems, or SRS.
SRS, what's that?
It's a clever algorithm. It tracks how well you know each word and schedules reviews for you. It shows you a word just before you're likely to forget it.
Wow, okay, so it optimizes your review time.
Exactly. It interrupts that forgetting curve at the perfect moment. Regular, strategically timed repetition helps make recalling the word almost automatic.
Automaticity, that sounds good.
That's the goal, right? When you don't have to consciously search for the word, it just pops in your head when you need it. Like native speakers, SRS helps build that.
So these apps kind of systematize the review process from method 2?
In a very efficient way, yes. They help transition words from effortful recall to effortless access.
Okay, those 5 methods, read, listen, notebook, context, active use, and apps SRS, that's a really solid toolkit. But there's still that nagging question, how many words? Like, what's a reasonable daily goal? People feel they need to learn like 50 words a day.
Yeah, that's a super common question, and the pressure people put on themselves can be immense. But the answer is actually much more encouraging.
Good.
Start small, really small even. Aim for maybe 5 to 10 new words a day that you actively work on.
Just 5 to 10, that feels manageable.
It is. And here's why it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's all about consistency over sheer volume.
Right, that theme again.
Absolutely. Think about it. If you consistently learn just, say, 3 new words every single day, that doesn't sound like much, does it?
That sounds tiny.
But do the math. 3 words a day is over 1,000 new words in a year.
Wow. Okay, when you put it like that.
Right. Imagine adding 1,000 actively usable words to your vocabulary in a year.
Yeah.
That's transformative.
Definitely.
So this raises an important question about sustainability and learning. It's not about these heroic, short bursts of intense effort that lead to burnout.
Been there, done that.
We all have. It's about building a steady, manageable habit that you can actually stick with long term. Those small, consistent efforts compound dramatically over time.
So setting small, achievable goals prevents burnout and keeps you going.
Exactly. It builds momentum, builds confidence, and makes the whole process feel less overwhelming and more enjoyable. Consistency truly is the magic ingredient, much more than the number of words you try to cram in any single day. #5. Common pitfalls to sidestep in your vocabulary journey.
That focus on consistency is really helpful, takes the pressure off. So we know the good methods, we know about setting realistic goals. Now, let's flip it again. Okay, let's unpack this. Sometimes knowing what not to do is just as vital, right? What are the common traps people fall into?
Absolutely. Avoiding the pitfalls is crucial for making steady progress and not wasting your effort.
Okay, what's a big one?
Mistake 1. Not revising words regularly. We keep coming back to this, but it's probably the single biggest reason words don't stick.
Learn it once and assume it's done.
Exactly. And the consequence is simple. You forget. Your brain needs reinforcement. If it doesn't see or use information regularly, it assumes it's not important and lets it go.
Pruning the connections.
Pretty much. This goes right back to the importance of spaced repetition, whether through your notebook reviews, method 2, or apps, method 5. Learning is just step 1. Reviewing is what cements it. Without review, the initial effort is largely wasted.
Okay, revision is non-negotiable. Got it. What's another common mistake?
Mistake 2. Focusing only on passive learning, just listening and reading.
But you said method 1 was crucial.
It is, for exposure, for input. But it's not enough on its own. If you only do passive learning, the consequence is that words stay in your recognition vocabulary.
Meaning you understand them when you see them.
Right. But you can't easily use them yourself when you speak or write. They're not part of your active, productive vocabulary.
So you need the output, method 4.
You absolutely need the output. Speaking and writing force your brain to actively retrieve and use the words, processing them much more deeply than just passively receiving them. It's the difference between watching someone swim and actually swimming yourself. You need to produce language to truly master the words.
Right. Makes sense. Input alone isn't fluency. What's a third pitfall?
Mistake 3. trying to learn those fancy, difficult words first.
We busted this myth, but it's a common mistake too.
Oh, definitely. People often think learning impressive-sounding words will make them fluent faster. The consequence, usually it's just frustration.
Because you can't use them.
Exactly. You rarely encounter them, you rarely have a chance to use them, and it slows down your ability to communicate about everyday things. Remember, start with practical, high-frequency vocabulary. Build that solid foundation.
Utility first.
Utility first. Master the basics, get comfortable with everyday communication, then start adding the more specialized or complex words as you need them. Trying to build the roof before the walls are up just doesn't work. Hashtag 6. Bonus tips for supercharging memory and retention.
Okay, avoiding those pitfalls, no revision, only passive learning. Fancy words first, that clears the path a lot. So we have the core methods. We know the mistakes to avoid. Are there any extra tricks, bonus tips to really make words stick even better? Supercharge the memory.
Yes, definitely. Once you've got the basics down, there are some techniques that leverage how our memory works even more effectively. Think of them as accelerators.
Ooh, accelerators. I like the sound of that. What have you got?
First, visualize the meaning. When you learn a new word, don't just think about its definition in words. Try to create a strong mental image.
A picture in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A vivid picture, maybe even a little mini-movie or scenario associated with the word. If you learn serene, picture that perfectly calm lake at sunrise.
Yeah.
If you learn cacophony, imagine a noisy street with car horns blaring and people shouting. Our visual memory is incredibly powerful. Attaching a strong image engages more of your brain and creates a stronger memory trace.
Makes it more multidimensional.
Precisely. Second, create associations. Actively link new words to things you already know well.
Like connecting it to existing knowledge.
Yes. Build on your existing mental network. If you learn the word diligent, maybe you link it to a coworker you know who is really hardworking. Or link it to another word you know that means something similar or even opposite.
Building bridges between words.
That's a great way to think of it. You're anchoring the new information to established knowledge, making it easier to find and retrieve later.
Okay, visualize and associate. What else?
Third, use synonyms and antonyms. Learn words in related groups.
So not just big, but large, huge, enormous, gigantic.
Exactly. And maybe also its opposite. Small, tiny, minuscule. Learning them together helps you understand the subtle differences in meaning and intensity.
The nuances.
Right. It gives you more options for expressing yourself precisely, which is a sign of advanced fluency. And comparing and contrasting them actually reinforces the meaning of each individual word.
Learn word families, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Semantic clusters. And finally, a really powerful one, teach someone else.
Teach. Like explain the word to someone.
Yes. Even if it's just explaining it simply to a friend or fellow learner. What's fascinating here is the act of teaching forces you to organize your own understanding.
You have to really get it yourself first.
Exactly. You have to retrieve the information, structure it logically, articulate it clearly, maybe come up with examples on the spot.
Answer questions about it.
Right. That deep level of active processing is incredibly effective for cementing the information in your own memory. It's far more powerful than just passively reviewing.
What if you don't have someone to teach?
You can even just explain it out loud to yourself. Pretend you're teaching an imaginary student. Your brain still goes through that powerful consolidation process. Hashtag 7, your deep dive challenge and key takeaways.
Visualize, associate, use synonyms, teach. Those are brilliant additions, really practical ways to make words unforgettable. Okay, we have covered so much ground today, from why vocabulary is crucial to the myths, the core methods, the pitfalls, and these bonus memory tips. But just listening isn't enough, right?
Knowledge needs action.
Exactly. So here it is, your deep dive challenge for you listening right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
After this deep dive ends, I want you to choose just 5 new words, maybe words we mentioned, like
grateful, routine, manageable.
Grateful, routine, manageable, inspired, progress. Good ones. Or pick 5 words you've encountered yourself recently. Just 5.
Okay.
Then do the work. Write down their meanings, create your own sentences for them. And this is the key part. Find a way to use those 5 words today.
Actively use them.
Yes. In a real conversation, maybe an email, maybe just writing a quick journal entry for yourself, but actively produce them today. Make that commitment.
That's a great actionable challenge. Just 5 words used today.
Right. Take that step.
And as you take on that challenge, let's just quickly recap the absolute core takeaways from our deep dive today. What are the must-remembers?
Good idea.
First, vocabulary really is your key to confidence and clear communication in English. It's foundational.
Absolute.
Second, learn words in context. Always. Context is everything for meaning and memory.
Context, context, context.
Third, use a notebook or an app. Engage actively and review consistently. Make review a habit.
Capture and revisit.
Fourth, practice active use. You must speak and write with your new words to truly own them. Output is crucial.
Get them out of your head and into the world.
And finally, be consistent. Small, regular efforts add up massively over time. Consistency beats intensity.
Consistency is your superpower. I like that. So what does this all mean for you as you move forward from this deep dive? It means every word you learn adds real power to your voice. It's a new tool, a new color for your palette.
A way to express yourself more fully.
Exactly. And please, remember, don't fear mistakes. Seriously. Mistakes are just proof you're trying, you're learning, you're pushing yourself.
They're essential feedback.
They really are. Embrace them as part of the journey.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Building your vocabulary isn't just about, passing a test or sounding smarter. It's genuinely about expanding your world.
How do you mean?
Well, each new word gives you a slightly different lens through which to see things, a new way to understand concepts, to grasp perspectives, maybe even to feel empathy. It deepens your capacity for thought and for connection.
Wow. So it's personal growth, not just language learning.
I truly believe it is. It's about connecting more deeply with ideas, with people, with the world, through the amazing power of language.
That's a really inspiring note to end on. So take that challenge, use these methods, keep exploring, keep connecting. Your own deep dive into English vocabulary is an ongoing adventure. Keep at it.